Hi, my name is Aya Taifa, and with me is my cousin Karen. And today we'll be talking about Glanzmann's thrombocythemia. It's also called GT. Now, it is an autosomal recessive gene, and it is obviously X-linked. Um, and it requires both parents to have the mutation, and that mutation is on chromosome 17. So, like I said, both parents have to have that mutation for at least one of four children to have this disease. And now the mutation is specifically the glycoprotein 2B and glycoprotein 3A. This is because for you to obtain this disease, you have to have a deficiency in either 2B or 3A. The glycoproteins also sit on top of the platelets. So, now the major phenotypic features, there really aren't any other than big bruising, but even then, if you're going to be walking down the street and someone has a big bruise, you're going to think they probably got into a fight. You're not going to really say, oh, they have Glanzmann's disease. There's nothing really significant externally, and it's mainly internal. So I'm going to be saying his medical history because he just kind of stutters. He was diagnosed officially at 6 months, but prior to that, he's had symptoms right after birth. Also to mention, he receives platelet transfusions at a year and a half, I believe, and he became immune to them. His body's built up antibodies, and they just don't work. So ever since then, he's been taking red blood cell transfusions, which has been he's taken about 5 times now. And as medication, he takes Novo-7, and he's specifically deficient in the glycoprotein 2B. And like I said before, both his parents have this mutation on chromosome 17. So like I said before, this is autosomal recessive and is congenital, meaning you have to, it is a disease that is developed when you were very, very young. And it is on chromosome 17 and is X-linked. And I tried doing research on this, on what kind of mutation it is, but there really isn't any. This disease is so rare. But I did view an article where they tested only the carriers. So they didn't have the disease, they just carried a mutation. And from the 24, at least one of them had a missense, a nonsense, and a deletion in this mutation. Now, to explain, but before I do, I just want y'all to know that this isn't my picture. This is from Medicosis. It is a YouTube channel. They're very great. I just took a screenshot of this. This information was really good. So when you are going through coagulation, you go through these 3 stages: adhesion, activation, and aggregation. Now, for you to develop the Glanzmann's disease, this deficiency happens in step number 3. If you can see here, there's the glycoprotein 2B and 3A. They are receptors and they bind to other platelets to clot. And because there's a deficiency in them, they can't clot as well, and so it takes longer for something to clot. And if you can see, there is platelets here present. If there wasn't any platelets, then this would have been aplastic anemia. But because there is, it is just these receptors that sit on top of the platelets that aren't functioning well. And like me and my cousin said before, the platelets become lazy and they don't clot in time. So yeah.
Diagnostics procedure. Glanzmann's thrombocythemia is diagnosed by blood tests and platelets. If your platelet
You're kidding.
I'm
Anyways,
kidding.
I got this. Okay, so when you show symptoms, you're gonna obviously have to go to the doctor, and the doctor right then will take a blood test for platelet count. And if your platelet count comes back normal, then they can rule out aplastic anemia. And then they move to platelet time. So how well your platelets work,
and how long it takes to clot.
And that should come back a little lower than normal. And once they get that back, they have to do another test for receptors. There's about 2 different receptors. There's the glycoprotein 1B, and then there's the glycoprotein 2B and 3A. 2B and 3A sit on top of the receptors on step 3 of coagulation. And if you're deficient in the glycoprotein 1B, I believe you have another disease, something with a B, and it's the same as Glanzmann's, but Glanzmann's is a little bit more rare since it happens on the 3rd step of coagulation. And so they'll test it, and then if you come up with a deficiency in glycoprotein 2B or 3A, then you have Glanzmann's. You're diagnosed with it. Now, mentally, there's no changes, no behavioral changes at all. It's mainly physical, like joint bleeds. I know he had some muscle bleeds, gum bleeds,
bruising.
Yeah, and like nosebleeds, like everywhere. So the treatment and the cure, there is no cure, unfortunately, but there is something called Novo7. It is a clotting promoter, I believe.
Yes.
And it's been proven to help with clots. And Novo7 is actually pretty expensive. Every dosage, which is 5 milligrams, it's like $10,000. And Amicar is just another clotting promoter. Now, so platelet transfusions, most patients will get these. It is rare for you to be immune like that quick. He was immune that quick.
Yes.
But even if you do take these platelet transfusions, even if your blood does take them, it won't last as long. But then after that, you move to red blood cell transfusions.
This disease is most common in the Middle East, where we are from, India and France.
Yeah.
Mostly in Asia.
So it's not to say that no one else in the world can get it. It's just it's most common in there. At least carriers, not the disease. I believe there's only like 500 to 600 people reported to have this disease.
There will be much more.
Mm-hmm.
There should be much more. Inheritance risks. So if both of your parents are carriers, you will get the disease. Well, one of your siblings out of 4.
Yeah, oddly enough, he has 3 other siblings. So we know now that 2 of them are carriers and 1 of them does not carry anything.
Now, if one of your parents have the disease, or no, don't have the disease, but are a carrier, you will have 2 kids that are carriers and 2 kids that are normal. If one is affected by the disease and has the disease, all of your children will be carriers, but that is only if your partner is normal and is not a carrier or affected. If you carry the disease and you marry someone and have kids with someone that has the disease, you will have 2 children out of 4 that get the disease and 2 children out of 4 that carry the disease.
Yeah. Like I said before, this is so rare that only 1 in 1 million people are carriers. Basically, less than a percent, 0.5 people are carriers in the whole world. I also wanted to say that I've spent hours on end trying to get the meta-analysis to work with my disease, but because my disease is so rare, there's barely any actual genetic research to it, so I don't have it. But I think that sums up everything for today.
Yeah.